Scary moments for a small town across the Utah border as grass fire forced neighbors from their homes. We're live with the details.
Then a massive Facebook data center deal gets a thumbs down. Tonight, what it means to the Jordan School District.
Plus, smelly, dirty, and undrinkable. Why overused fire hydrants are being blamed for some Ogden residents' murky tap water.
And is it Taysom or Tanner? BYU makes their quarterback pick. Straight ahead.
We begin with developing news. Salt Lake City police are looking for two suspects after a shooting near the Dual Immersion Academy. We know right now that a 16-year-old boy is in serious condition, and investigators are looking for two possible suspects. We know the teen was walking down the street when he was shot. Police say multiple rounds were fired, and this shooting is believed to be gang-related. There could be as many as 3 possible cars involved. If you have any information, please contact police.
We're also following developing news in Italy. The U.S. Geological Survey says a 6.2 magnitude earthquake hit near Norcia about an hour and 15 minutes ago. That's about 100 miles northeast of Rome. We don't have any information about injuries right now, but the USGS says an earthquake that strong can lead to significant damage and casualties, and deadly earthquakes have struck Italy in recent years. We're also checking on the status of LDS Church missionaries in Italy. We'll keep following the situation and bring you any updates here on Fox 13 News at 9 and online at fox13now.com.
It started as a small grass fire, but quickly took over hundreds of acres and got dangerously close to homes. Fire crews say more than 50 people had to be evacuated. New tonight, crews have it under control and are looking into what started it.
It started at about noon near Clifton, Idaho, and that's where Fox 13's Kirsten Nunez is tonight. Kirsten.
Yeah, Bob and Hope, this is mostly under control here, but the winds are not on their side. They're still having some hot spots popping up here and there. There were actually some flames on the other side of this mountain just a couple of minutes ago. But some good news tonight, all residents are back in their homes. But just a couple hours ago, it was a different story, and I talked to some homeowners who stayed behind to help fire crews.
We were going to stay and fight to the end.
Their home was in the line of fire, the flames stopping just yards away from their back door.
It was pretty close. We kind of got concerned. We didn't think it had come this close. We weren't too worried about it until it happened, and happened all at once.
We had firefighters on the south of us, firefighters on the north. But when we realized it was going to come this close to the house, we had to run and grab firefighters and bring them here.
Surrounded by smoke.
It was so thick that it was almost impossible to see.
Neighbors worked together to keep the blaze away from their homes and livestock.
It was pretty intense. It was pretty intense to have that bunch of flames fly that far away and jump in the canal and jump in the water lines.
It moves so fast. I haven't seen it this dry since 2007.
Dozens of fire crews fought the blaze. Several surrounding agencies, many from Utah, came to help.
Very tense for a while.
The flames spread over approximately 2,000 acres, and while it's mostly contained, crews are keeping a close eye on it.
We'll be here through the night and possibly tomorrow too.
And they'll be keeping a close eye on the weather, hoping that these winds die down, and keeping a really close eye out for those hot spots that keep popping up. Now, as for what caused this fire, that is still under investigation. Live in Clifton, Kirsten Nunez, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Firefighters are battling another fire not far from the south near Beaver Mountain Ski Resort in Cache County. It has burned 389 acres and is 0% contained tonight. Because road access is limited, firefighters are using aerial support to fight the flames.
A Washington State man is in the Weber County Jail tonight, accused of photographing and recording 2 young girls at a Deseret Industries store. Police arrested 39-year-old Gabriel Areza Guel on Friday when an off-duty police officer says he saw him taking pictures and video of the 7 and 15-year-olds. It happened at the Deseret Industries near 4th North Wall Avenue. Police booked him into jail on voyeurism charges.
It was called corporate welfare and a suckhole of water and power. Today, a $240 million tax break to bring a Facebook data center to West Jordan died. Fox 13's Matt McDonald is live in our studio with why some are crushed to seal the deal dead. Matt?
Yeah, Hope, this deal faced some heavy criticism, and yes, it was almost certainly a good deal for the social networking giant, but the people backing the deal the strongest, the leaders of the Jordan School District, say it could have been a good deal for students. With 52,300 students, Jordan School District is one of Utah's largest and fastest growing.
In Jordan District, we need seats for kids in our schools.
More seats, more schools, more taxes to build them. Hard on the wallet, unless you attract some big businesses to build in the area.
When we can get that property tax money out of the Capitol buildings, then that's great for taxpayers because we ask them for less.
The district and the city of West Jordan were ready to click like on a deal to give Facebook some big tax breaks, bringing a new data center to town.
This was potentially setting the standard for what every other company was going to ask for when they come here, and it just went too far.
Billy Hesterman from the Utah Taxpayers Association, the Salt Lake County Council, and others have opposed the deal.
Those in favor say aye. Aye.
The state school board gave a thumbs up to phase one, but with some conditions. Not enough to satisfy the critics.
The school children in the Jordan School District would have given up over $90 million of property tax revenue.
$90 million, but that's potential tax revenue over 20 years. What is the district actually pulling off the land?
Currently on that property, we get less than $100 a year. And with the deal, we would have gotten more than $300,000 a year.
It won't happen. After the state school board voted to place conditions on the deal, the city of West Jordan pulled out. And the district continues to try and find seats for more than 50,000 students. In a statement announcing the deal was dead, the city of West Jordan wrote the project is also being courted by the state of New Mexico, and with the limits placed on the deal by the school board, the city said their version of the deal was simply no longer competitive. Matt McDonald, Fox 13 News, Utah.
All right, thank you, Matt. He was convicted once of killing his wife. Now Conrad Truman wants a new trial, but he's not getting out of jail anytime soon. Last year, he was convicted of murdering his wife Heidi at their Orem home in 2012. Earlier this month, a judge granted Truman a new trial after deciding the jury saw inaccurate diagrams of the crime scene. But the judge denied Truman bail today as families from both sides walked from the courtroom. Their resolve appeared as strong as ever.
He's never mourned my daughter. He's never acted like he cared she was gone.
In the end, the truth will come out and justice will be served.
Truman's attorney says they'll look at appealing the ruling on bail. Truman's new trial is scheduled for November 1st.
New information about the homicide investigation of 16-year-old Paris Gustin. He was found dead inside a car in Glendale July 5th. Police think two men have information that will help their case. The men are identified as 22-year-old Fortunato Villagrana and 22-year-old Jonathan Padilla Lopez. If you know where they are, please call police. A Utah man accused of beating a 4-month-old puppy to death last year has admitted to the crime. 20-year-old Micah Johnson pleaded guilty to torture of a companion animal. Charges last week. In return, prosecutors dropped 7 other animal cruelty charges. Now, Johnson will be sentenced November 4th.
A new poll suggests Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz will easily win his re-election bid in Utah's 3rd Congressional District this November. A UtahPolicy.com survey says 69% of voters want to re-elect Chaffetz. Democratic challenger Stephen Tryon pulled in 23% support. 8% are undecided. Looks like Donald Trump is gaining some support in the Beehive State. New survey results show him with a 15-point lead over Hillary Clinton. Numbers from public policy polling showed Trump with 39% support. Clinton is second with 24%. 12% of Utah voters favor Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson. BYU graduate and independent candidate Evan McMullen received 9%. 14% are still undecided.
The Hillary Clinton campaign opened its first official office in Utah tonight as part of an effort to sway Utah's undecided voters. Dozens turned out in celebration of the new office. It's located on 3310 South and 27th East in Salt Lake City. Clinton supporters say having the campaign headquarters with paid staff will put Utah on the Democratic radar.
It's not a flyover state. Secretary Clinton is putting significant resources into making sure that Utah is a blue state this year, and not just the presidential race, but down ballot too.
Clinton supporters say they believe the energy from tonight's crowd will carry forward for many Utah voters.
It was another busy day in southern Utah with thunderstorms. In fact, we even had a flash flood warning. We still have a flash flood warning that's currently in effect near the Paria River drainage. But for northern Utah, it's really just about the fires. I mean, take a look at this picture that was sent in by Carol Dyer of the sunset this evening in Garden City. So this is near Bear Lake. So this is the fire that's near Beaver Mountain that is producing this smoke. As a lot of smoke in the air there in the extreme northern Utah. There's a look at the storms that were rolling through southern Utah earlier today. Very strong one again around Paria River drainage. That has died out as far as the storm, but the flash flood warning is still in effect because it takes a while for the water to travel down the channel. We also have moderate to light rainfall around St. George, a strong storm right at that junction between 15 and 70 right now, and a couple other isolated thunderstorms right along I-70. Jumping to the north real quickly, you can see it is a quiet night. We have had some storms moving through the Uintas and around the Uinta Basin, but everything winding down in northern Utah, and it will eventually be winding down in southern Utah as well. I'll let you know what's headed our way tomorrow and the rest of the week coming up.
All right, thank you, Brett.
Trying to fix one problem when they accidentally caused another one.
Sediment release in this project was not unexpected. However, the extent of it was more than we anticipated.
Coming up, the efforts to clean up this mucky creek.
And will Tanner or Taysom lead the Cougars this season? Tonight, we've got the answer.
Plus, more construction at Salt Lake International, how this round could cause headaches for some drivers.
Live from Fox 13 Studios, this is Fox 13 News at 9.
Concern and questions remain after hundreds of dead fish turned up in American Fork Canyon. Construction is underway on the Tibble Fork Reservoir to get it up to earthquake standards.
But as Fox 13's Jeff McAdam reports, the work is having a major impact on the environment.
Muddy, murky water, too much silt is flowing down the American Fork River.
We're not going to find any fish. We couldn't find any evidence of live fish.
Mike Slater with the Division of Wildlife Resources is looking for answers, not looking to point fingers, but others are less willing.
They've just killed every fish in this stream.
Robert Johnson fishes the area. They used to. It all started late Sunday, early Monday morning, when the water from Tibble Fork Reservoir was drained so that construction work could be done to the dam. But too much water was allowed to pass through too fast, carrying silt and sediment downstream.
Sediment release in this project was not unexpected. However, the extent of it was more than we anticipated.
So far, the dead fish are limited to just a 2-mile stretch between the reservoir and the fork further down the canyon, but still a problem.
Well, absolutely, we're concerned, and that's why you saw the 30-some-odd people gathered around here spending the last hour trying to figure out where we go from here.
Dave Brown with the NRCS says they've already begun to explore channeling water around the dam, so no more silt goes downstream.
Every little place that fish used to hang out is going to be full of mud. What's their plan to clean this river up after the fact?
Nature really does have a way of taking care of itself. Those fish come back pretty quick if there's any sources, which we have. We've got the South Fork of American Fork Canyon, which will kind of help bring things back pretty quick.
Over the next 24 hours, the Division of Water Quality will now make sure it's only silt and not something more problematic being flushed downriver. In American Fork, Jeff McAdam, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The Salt Lake City Council could decide by November where 2 new homeless shelters will be built. The Homeless Shelter Site Selection Committee outlined a plan of action today and will start looking for a place for smaller 250-bed shelters in the city. Public comment will take place in September and October. Building new shelters could eliminate the need for the road home shelter downtown.
The ultimate goal is that, based on the direction that Salt Lake City is heading right now, 2 new resource centers serving single men and single women, 250, 500 total, is that in conjunction with the work that we're doing on the new service model reduces the need for shelter beds.
Salt Lake County Mayor Ben McAdams says more money will be spent on addiction services and affordable housing to help end homelessness.
We're learning more about a large fire in Salt Lake City last night that we first showed you on Fox 13 News at 9. Investigators believe the fire was accidental. They say 3 men were working on a car when something ignited the gasoline-fed fire. It spread quickly. But firefighters say the business did have permission to store gasoline.
However, we just want people to be safe and maybe look to store gasoline or other hazardous items in a safe area where they won't be involved in any fires.
1 man suffered second-degree burns to his arms but should be okay. The other 2 were treated on scene. Investigators estimate the damage at about $80,000.
Next time you drive to Salt Lake International Airport, you may face a detour. Starting tomorrow, the airport will change the way drivers exit the parking garage. The dotted red line shows the current route and the red line shows the new one. On September 7th, traffic leaving the terminals will follow the same path. The changes are part of the terminal redevelopment project.
We're going to loop around an area that we need to use for the terminal and the airport rebuild. And so people will actually be able to see some of the construction that's going on, as well as some of the facilities that have already been completed for the rebuild.
Airport managers say there will be signs posted. The new roadways will be used for the next 4 years until the terminal redevelopment is finished. And this weekend, you have a chance to experience something uniquely Utah for free. More than 124 national parks across the country, including the 5 in Utah, are waiving entrance fees. It's part of the park's centennial celebration. On August 25th, 1916, President Woodrow Wilson signed the act, creating the National Park Service.
Earlier, Brett, you were talking about having 2 different forecasts for 2 different parts of this day. For those folks who want to go to the national parks this weekend, what are they going to see coming from the sky?
There are still going to be some thunderstorms in southern Utah, and technically it's 1 forecast for 2 different parts of the state.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, we've really had 2 different weather patterns. I mean, we've had such dry conditions here in northern Utah along the Wasatch Front. Not so much northeast Utah, but northern Utah along the Wasatch Front, northwest Utah. It's been very dry. We've had a lot of storms in southern Utah, though, this week. And this is actually Lori Del Rey sent this picture in Sunset. And this isn't, well, it's not all smoke, I can tell you that. But it's not really smoke. It's actually the clouds. There were a lot of thunderstorms here in southwest Utah. And this picture is during the sunset in southwest Utah earlier this evening. 79 degrees right now. Winds at 8 miles an hour out of the north. Now, we have these winds coming out of the north. And you saw with Kirsten Nunez's story, I mean, pretty strong winds right now in southern Idaho and extreme northern Utah that are coming out of the northwest, and that's ushering in drier air and cooler air. And the storms that were wrapped around a low pressure earlier in the day have since moved off to the east somewhat here in southern Utah. So this drier air will continue pushing in tonight from the northwest. There's going to be enough moisture left in the mainly in the southeast corner of the state, but parts of south central Utah as well tomorrow to still fire up some thunderstorms, but they will not be as widespread as they've been today. And these storms are still going. I mean, we have this strong batch right here, a lot of lightning associated with these. Just crossed I-15 near the I-70 cutoff there. You can see some showers still going in St. George. We have a couple little areas of moderate precipitation along I-70. Things are really beginning to die down completely in northern Utah, even northeast Utah, which of course has been a little more active than the Wasatch Front and northwest Utah during the day. Temps right now, upper 60s in Vernal and Price, 56 degrees currently in Blanding, 60s and 70s here throughout western Utah, upper 70s in Wendover. 24-hour temperature change, a bit warmer in Ely and Milford, but most locations around the state cooler than we were 24 hours ago, and that is going to be the plan going into tonight. Upper 50s for an overnight low, partly cloudy, it's a little breezy tonight, and much cooler temperatures, cooler temps to start the day tomorrow as well. We'll look at that in a second. 40s in some of the higher elevations and along the Wasatch Back, 50 in Richfield, 68 in St. George, and the storms here in southern Utah again will continue to wrap up tonight. So starting the day around 60, we were almost 10 degrees warmer than that to start the day today. So we are going to be cooler tomorrow morning if you're headed out to the bus stops. We're going to be in the low 80s tomorrow for an afternoon high. Really a nice day, although likely going to be some smoke issues, especially here in northern Utah with all the fires to our north. Low 80s in Salt Lake, Provo, same story, upper 70s as you look around Price, mid 90s in St. George. And again, an isolated thunderstorm possible over the higher elevations and especially in southeast Utah. We start to pick up a better chance of thunderstorms Thursday, Friday, and then just kind of hang on this weekend. But if you are going to the parks this weekend, overall, I think you're going to be okay. You just want to keep an eye to the sky. These are going to be a little more isolated on Saturday and Sunday than they are today, or were today. For northern Utah, partly cloudy, low to mid 80s again on Friday. Our best chance to get some of these thunderstorms going in northern Utah. Looks like it's coming especially Friday afternoon, but also on Saturday. And then we gradually warm up back into the low 90s by the end of the weekend and early next week.
I'll be golfing tomorrow with PGA professionals, the Worsham family.
You going to beat them?
Of course.
No.
Are you kidding?
Do they play from the Reds? No, they play.
They're experts.
They're really good.
Yeah, they're really good.
All right.
Thanks, Brett.
Yep.
Afraid to turn on their faucets. It's a reality some people in Ogden faced recently. Coming up, why the city says the water is safe.
And dozens of Utahns gather together to protest what they're fighting against when we come back. Rocky Mountain Power is threatening to sue the Environmental Protection Agency over a plan to cut haze around some of Utah's iconic national parks. Today, they face some pushback from environmentalists. Fox 13's Ben Winslow reports.
Environmental activists marched boxes representing 43,000 signatures to the headquarters of Rocky Mountain Power. They're demanding the utility comply with new federal rules requiring their Emery County plants install technology they claim will cut the haze surrounding some of Utah's most iconic and beautiful parks, Arches and Canyonlands.
Utah is one of the last states in the country to have an effective regional haze plan.
The Sierra Club, Heal Utah, Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, and others are pressuring Rocky Mountain Power to drop plans for a lawsuit against the EPA. The state of Utah is contemplating joining that lawsuit.
If we add these additional controls, it's not going to change the visibility at the national parks.
Rocky Mountain Power insists that it has made changes to improve the air in that area, but any more changes might cost consumers a lot more.
Their request is based on bad science and just bad for customers because they're the ones who are going to have to pay an additional $700 million for these controls that won't make any difference at all.
Rocky Mountain Power claims its plants are reducing pollution and says the main causes for regional haze is wildfires, dust, and cars. The Sierra Club says the utility can and should do more to eliminate pollution from its coal plants.
Rocky Mountain Power as a corporation is, as I see it, looking out for their bottom line and not the best interests of Utahns and future generations of Utah.
Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Smelly and dirty. Some people in Ogden say something's up with their water.
Water was a weird brown, yellowish.
Coming up, what the city says caused the problem.
And a gas leak in West Valley turns into a field trip for some elementary school students, what they ended up learning about safety.
Live from Fox 13 Studios, this is Fox 13 News at 9.
People living in Ogden were afraid to turn on their faucets over the weekend. For many, the water was discolored and it smelled bad.
The city has been working on the problem for the past few days. Fox 13's Robert Boyd reports from 1100 North, 700 East in Ogden.
Well, the city of Ogden says last week they had to use their fire hydrants a lot more than normal in order to fight a wildfire. And when that happened, it stirred up a lot of sediments in the pipes, which ended up in about a third of the city's drinking water. The city of Ogden has flushed 180 water lines in the past 2 days. Over the weekend, they received more than 60 calls from residents concerned about their water.
Water was a weird brown, yellowish.
Just the smell, just like dirty.
It was just really weird because it came out of nowhere.
The main cause is being blamed on last week's Taylor Canyons fire.
When you fight a fire, there's a lot of flow that comes through the lines. And so what that does is increases the velocities and it'll pick things up from the pipe. Just sediments that are there, iron, things like that.
The city says the water didn't pose any health risks, but residents weren't taking any chances.
I don't want that in my system. I don't want that on my body.
I just
threw it down the drain and went into the fridge and grabbed the bottled water.
Haley Richardson was giving her daughter a bath when she realized something was wrong.
The bottom of the tub, our tub is white, so you could obviously see that it was like a yellow brown kind of color. It's kind of gross to think, you know, when these types of things go on, like what is it that's going in my water supply?
The city says the water should now be back to normal in most homes. It's an issue they take very seriously.
We're doing testing just to make sure, just to double check everything. We don't believe there's anything wrong in terms of it being going to cause anybody illness or anything like that.
The city says if anyone continues to have discoloration in their drinking water, that they're urged to call the city and they'll come out and take a look at the pipes in their neighborhood. In Ogden, Robert Boyd, Fox 13 News, Utah.
We know drinking and driving is bad, but you don't hear as much about the dangers of driving drowsy. That's why the third week of August is dedicated to drowsy driving awareness. The Utah Department of Public Safety says 41% of all drowsy driving crashes result in injury or death. More than 1,500 people are killed every year. Warning signs include difficulty focusing, trouble remembering the last few miles, and yawning repeatedly.
You know, we're not talking about passing out behind the wheel. You know, we're not talking about snoring. We're talking about seconds with your eyes closed. And it's those seconds that get you off the road, that flip your vehicle.
Before driving, you should always get adequate sleep, schedule breaks every 100 miles, and travel with a companion. Fox 13, the Utah Highway Patrol, and UDOT are working together as partners in the Zero Fatalities campaign. Wouldn't it be nice if we never saw another death on Utah roads? To learn how you can help, go to fox13now.com.
People are still out of their homes tonight after a gas leak in West Valley City earlier today. Someone smelled the gas and called emergency crews who evacuated the area near 31st South between 44th and 48th West. Questar crews found gas in the sewer and the soil.
Gas is explosive, it ignites only in a range between about 5 and 15% mixed with the air. We found some gas that's in that range. We found some amounts that are over it.
Now, other than those living on 31st South, about 700 school students from Monroe Elementary had to evacuate. Fox 13's Brian Champagne caught up with the students on their way to safety and a day off.
How do you open this? We all had to go to the church by over there so then we could be safe.
It looks like a field trip for the kids.
They did like a rain thing where we went like that, then clapped our hands, then stomped our feet.
And they probably missed out on the danger factor.
They just told us to leave. We didn't smell it.
But it was part of a serious plan.
We have an emergency protocol in place. In this particular case, we went to our nearest evacuation site, which is the LDS church just north of the campus.
Everybody was like, teachers were like, be quiet.
School staff served lunch at the church, notified parents.
I got a Facebook notification, which was nice.
And waited for the kids to get picked up.
But the kids were like, oh no, we're gonna be stuck here forever.
They seemed to me to have everything pretty well maintained and pretty good.
It was a long day for Questar crews, but not the kids.
Best day ever.
Brian Champagne, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Waking your children for school can be a real chore, but what if waking them up wasn't as difficult as it is right now? We'll show you what some folks want to do. And a home run ball ends up cracking a windshield in the parking lot. Why the hitter felt extra bad about the accident.
Storms are continuing here in southern Utah. We have a batch right here with a lot of lightning near Circleville, Antimony, areas like that. We do have some showers. There's actually a fire in this part of the state, and so hopefully lightning not causing a problem, but we are getting some rain in the area. We do have some rain off towards southeast Utah as well, and still a few showers in St. George. 90 was our high today, right about average. A little bit warmer than average overnight. We're going to cool this down, and we're definitely going to cool this down as well. I'll show you in the forecast coming up.
Plus, a rare friendship in the animal kingdom caught on camera. But first, Fox 13's Bob Schildmeyer has your world in a minute.
At least 17 people killed in a double terrorist bombing in Somalia. Al-Qaeda-linked militants attack a government compound and nearby open-air market. A typhoon tears across Japan. The storm touching down south of Tokyo moves north to Hokkaido, wrecking homes and leaving villages flooded. 2 buses collide in Punjab, India, killing at least 2 people, injuring 10 others. Witnesses say the buses spun out of control on a rain-covered road. Shells and bullets flying in eastern Ukraine, and new fighting between pro-Russian rebels and the government. 2 soldiers killed, 8 wounded. 2 people sucked into a sinkhole in northwest China. The sinkhole opening under them on a street. They were rescued, taken to a hospital. A wild chase scene in Italy for 2 drug dealers on jet skis. Cops caught 1 suspect and seized $2 million worth of marijuana. When a police constable in India complained of stomach trouble, doctors found 42 knives in his stomach and surgically removed them. He'd been swallowing them for 2 months. And finally, farmers in Spain turn a field into a giant chessboard. Tractors and combines act as pawns, rooks, bishops, kings, and queens. And that's World in a minute.
You're watching Fox 13 News. Let's connect.
Welcome back. Some of the newest students at Westminster College spent part of their day getting to know their new community a little better. Nearly 80 freshman students put on gloves and volunteered to help clean up along the Jordan River. It's part of the college's annual Helping Hands Service Day, and it comes on the heels of freshman orientation.
We've had a lot of mandatory sessions yesterday, and so after everything, it was kind of like really nice to see that a lot of students are just like volunteering, like on their kind of like their slow like day off kind of.
Westminster partners with South Salt Lake City to provide volunteer opportunities to students. Faculty and staff also volunteer as tutors and mentors in other community programs.
Fox 13 is celebrating a week of wellness with University of Utah Healthcare and Blue Cross Blue Shield. There's a whole bunch of events for the Be Well Utah Family Health Week. Tomorrow, get free samples and learn how to shop healthy at Harmon's in Farmington. Also, tomorrow is South Jordan Family Night. Enjoy games, music, face painting, meet the Jazz Bear, and get free health screenings. And those are just some of the events. Get a complete list on our website, fox13now.com. Does it really have to be so difficult to get up for school?
Any high school student and teacher, as I was, can tell you that when they start at 7:30, a lot of kids are barely awake at 7:30 during that first period.
How one group is proposing to solve the problem, coming up.
There's an update in the suspension status of Utah wide receiver Corey Butler-Bird, and we now know who will be the starting quarterback at BYU. Is it Taysom Hill or Tanner Mangum? We'll have the details coming up in sports.
We're following developing news in Italy, where the U.S. Geological Survey says a 6.2 magnitude earthquake struck near Norcia about 2 hours ago. An aftershock of 5.5 struck about an hour ago. Norcia is about 100 miles northeast of Rome. Right now, we know the earthquake and aftershocks have caused severe damage. Italian officials are reporting downed buildings and many people trapped under rubble. No word yet on casualties or the status of LDS missionaries. Keep it right here on Fox 13 News at 9 as we continue to keep you updated. You can get updates anytime at fox13now.com. Most grown-ups remember how difficult it was sometimes to get up early for school every day.
Now there's a new push in Utah to start school later so students can get extra sleep. Fox 13's Tamara Vaifanua spoke to the state lawmaker behind the effort.
Teenagers are sleep deprived. According to experts, they need 8.5 to 9.5 hours of shut-eye a night, but fewer than 10% of teens get that much on school nights.
Any high school student and teacher, as I was, can tell you that when they start at 7:30, a lot of kids are barely awake at 7:30 during that first period.
Representative Carol Spackman Moss is pushing for a later school start time. The former teacher filed a resolution calling on her colleagues to study the issue. She says lack of sleep can lead to a whole host of health and behavioral problems.
Today that adds to even more problems. Depression, anxiety. Kids with learning disabilities, kids with ADHD often have sleep issues anyway.
Spackman Moss follows the recommendation from the American Medical Association. They say middle and high schools should begin no earlier than 8:30 a.m. She would also like schools to consider shortening 90-minute class blocks.
That's something we've studied, we've taken serious consideration of.
Granite School District has been tossing the idea around for several years now. The biggest hang-up is the cost.
If we start school all at the same time, obviously we're going to need more buses and more bus drivers.
Convenience is also a sticking point. Parents would have to adjust their schedules, students would have less time to participate in after-school activities, and there would be a conflict for students who have after-school jobs.
We really need to decide what's the most important thing for us, and kids' sleep is certainly something we need to take into consideration.
On Capitol Hill, Tamara Vaifanua, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Draper police officers and staff got training today on fair and impartial policing. It was part of an ongoing effort to improve relations with the community. The goal is to teach how to recognize personal bias in order to treat the public more fairly. Officers were trained in everything from racial bias to economic bias to gender bias.
We want to break down those barriers. You know, we want the public to feel that they're being treated legitimately, that they're being treated fairly. And if you achieve those things, you should be able to bring down those barriers of bias.
Roberts says there is a responsibility on both sides of the equation, and the public should recognize some of the same biases they have about police.
SAGE test results are in, and Utah Public School students improved a little over the past school year. In science and math, Utah students bumped up 2 percentage points on average. In language arts, scores on SAGE tests stayed flat overall. For all 3 subjects, Utah's average is still below the 50th percentile nationally. At the local level, average scores differ wildly from school to school. The averages are used to find low-performing schools that could use help.
If the school is receiving title funds, you know, federal funds, and they fall within the bottom 5% of schools in the state, then they do undergo a school improvement process.
The SAGE test is designed by the Utah Office of Education and is only used in Utah, but it's designed to compare Utah children's knowledge against national norms.
President Obama is still facing criticism after touring flood-soaked Louisiana today. So far, 13 people have died in the flooding and more than 60,000 homes are damaged. The president says he's heartbroken by the destruction he saw during his visit today. But critics say he should have cut his family vacation short last week and visited sooner. It was a grand slam in more ways than one. Baseball player Brandon Thomas hit a home run that broke the window of a 2008 Toyota Tundra parked in the parking lot. The problem is, Brandon Thomas happens to own that truck.
I didn't really realize it at the time, but it's the chances of something like this happening in that situation, you know, just can't be too high.
Thomas says even though he's less than thrilled to pay for repairs, he is proud to know he hit the ball that far.
It's a pretty big price to pay for a little bit of self-esteem, some satisfaction.
I was thinking the opposite. I'm like, I bet he'd pay that price every time.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a
That's
guy
what
thing.
he does for a living. Come on.
And your own truck?
Ah, that's nothing to him.
That's probably
It's a $50, yeah. It's insurance.
Oh, okay. All right.
Come on. Yeah, I'm sure he'd make that trade anytime. Let's look at where we're headed tomorrow. We're starting to see some changes. We have some breezy conditions out of the north. That's bringing in some cooler and relatively drier air to the state. Now, in southern Utah, we still have the storms going, but that cooler, drier air is working your way. It's 82 tomorrow here along the Wasatch Front. Partly cloudy, and again, you know, temperatures have been in the upper 80s, low 90s, so we are going to cool it down in the mid 60s in the mountains of northern Utah. Definitely going to feel a difference tomorrow. And mid 90s in southwest Utah. Isolated thunderstorms still possible in the southern part of the state, mainly over the higher elevations. Not nearly as widespread as they've been over the last couple days. About 87 here in Moab, and again, an isolated thunderstorm still possible. So for southern Utah, we have mostly a break tomorrow. Again, isolated mountain storm possible, but mostly drier conditions. Then moisture starts working its way back into the state from the south, and we see a better chance of showers and thunderstorms heading into the end of the week and the weekend. More isolated this weekend as we begin to gradually warm things back up into the upper 90s by Monday and Tuesday. For northern Utah, we're low 80s, we're mid 80s, and again, some of that moisture begins to work its way into the state from the south. Our best chance, what it looks like right now in northern Utah, will be Friday and Saturday, especially by Friday afternoon. And you see those temperatures will begin to warm up as we head into the weekend. We do start to dry things out once again, and by Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're back in the low 90s for afternoon highs.
I like your solution that he should park his truck back
a little further. Just keep, you know.
Keep it. How far back? Hey, today we finally heard who's going to lead the BYU Cougar offense.
It's been the big question of the offseason. Is it going to be Tanner? Is it going to be Taysom? Well, now we know a little bit. The Cougars made the announcement today after practice, and Fox 13's Rebecca Cade was there.
Taysom Hill, 100% healthy and 100% the starting quarterback for BYU. Ty Detmer announced today the decision had been made Saturday in wake of the Arizona game, but that it was not an easy one.
Got the experience and the leadership of the group, and so we feel real comfortable with him in there and going full speed. And Tanner, you know, handled it great. He's worked. He's made it a tough decision, which was his job.
There's some things that Tanner brings to the table that Taysom can't, and there's things that Taysom does that Tanner can. We just feel like that for the team and where we sit right now, this is the right move for us.
Today we sat down together and put together our script, and we're starting piecing everything together for Arizona, and we'll start to rep those. And Coach Detmer has a really good idea of what I like now, and like I said, we'll start to put all that stuff together and make sure everyone else is comfortable with it and get ready to go.
Tanner Mangum will still get play time as the backup QB, and coaches say there's a lot he can still learn from Hill, who, by the way, turned 26 today. From Provo, Rebecca Cade, Fox 13 Sports.
Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham has partially reinstated Corey Butler-Byrd. He practiced with the team today, but the senior wide receiver remains suspended from playing in games indefinitely. Butler-Byrd entered a guilty plea to a misdemeanor charge of criminal mischief yesterday after he allegedly damaged a university police car and broke a window at a patrol building on July 27th. There is no timetable for his return to competition.
We talk about it and we try to decide the best course of action, and right now we think that what we decided to do today is the right step for right now, and we'll see where it goes.
Real Salt Lake had a groundbreaking ceremony this morning, pouring the cement on the footing of the side of the club's $50 million training academy complex in Harriman. There will be 8 fields in all at the indoor and outdoor complex, as well as a school that will open next August. RSL's owner, Deloy Hansen, thinks this will be a game changer.
I've described this facility as what we're building is the Harvard of soccer education. We literally will have no academy finer in the nation or in Canada than what we're building here. If we start at age 7, and by the time they get to 14, 15, they enter this academy for 4 years and play the number of games and the quality of competition, American soccer will rise in the world.
Pretty spectacular place. Corey Butler-Byrd probably out for SUU, maybe BYU. We'll see. That'll be intriguing.
All right. Very good, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Be right back.
This is Fox 13 News.
Finally on Fox 13, it's an unlikely pair, but animal keepers at the Zoological Wildlife Foundation in Miami say this lion cub and otter are best friends. Aww. Look at this.
For now.
They recorded this video over the week and posted it on YouTube. Somehow the lion cub got tangled up in that blanket. And of course you can see all he wants to do now is play, but the otter is not quite so enthusiastic about that. But a lion cub and an otter, best friends in Miami. That's pretty good.
I don't know if the otter thinks they're best friends.
Get him in some water.
Yeah.
The otter might feel a little more comfortable.
Exactly.
Maybe so, maybe so.
Thanks everybody for being a part of Fox 13 News at 9.
Quick Cast is coming up next.